Here's Tony, the guy for the job.
Thank you, Sharon. And thanks to the RCB for putting on this event, and thanks to everyone for being here today. Beautiful day, by the way. This is a special day for me, just like Dan Camp said. A year ago, I made my first political speech, my first probably public speech of any kind at all, on a cold, rainy night with much less people than are here today. And what I spoke about that night is what motivated me. I announced my candidacy for sheriff that night about a year ago. And I spoke about what motivated me, and I spoke about the dysfunction in county government. And in particular, I spoke about the dysfunction in the sheriff's office. And at that time, in speaking about those things, and if you remember, it was a time when our sheriff had just been acquitted of some criminal charges, and there were all kind of other shenanigans going on in the sheriff's office. You'd have thought that things couldn't get worse. You'd be wrong. Things have gotten worse. As a matter of fact, within about the last month, another deputy was arrested on felony charges. Another deputy who had been criminally charged was welcomed back to work, apparently. And the sheriff's office continues to give a gun and a badge to new hires who have no law enforcement certification whatsoever. I don't think that's good government. But I don't want to talk about good government, or I don't want to talk about bad government here today. I really want to talk to you about how I intend to change that and how I intend to bring good government to Beaver County. And in my 25 years with the state police, and Mr. Hostetler touched on that a little bit, I rose to positions of leadership where I came to understand that when you're presented with a problem, you don't just attack it in a unorganized, willy-nilly way. You have a plan. And so I put a plan together in order to attack the problems in the sheriff's department. And that's what I want to tell you about here today. I have a 3-step plan. And the first step is very clearly, and I think it would be obvious to anybody who's taken a look at it, the office needs to be cleaned up. You need to clean out the bad element in the sheriff's office. And I've spoken about that as a process, and I do intend to have a process in place that evaluates every member, every person in that department, every deputy, and evaluate each and every one of them. But I want to be a little bit more specific about that today, especially in light of the recent things that have been occurring. Let me say this, and let me be very clear about this. Anyone who's committed any criminal offense, anyone who's been arrested, anybody who's lied in any official proceedings, anybody who's hindered a law enforcement investigation, and anybody who's unqualified will not be working in Tony Guy's sheriff's office. Period. I believe, and I've lived my life this way, I believe that law enforcement personnel should be held to a higher standard. Not only should those people not be employed in the law enforcement field, they certainly will not be employed in my sheriff's office. The second step in this plan that I intend to put into place is, once that personnel is sorted out, they need to understand how things are supposed to run. So I intend to review the policy and procedures. I intend to institute a legitimate chain of command where supervisors have the authority to oversee their personnel. And I want to put everyone on notice that this is the way things are going to be run in the sheriff's office. And I want to let them know the consequences if they don't hold themselves to those standards, up to and including termination. The third part of the plan, and this is every bit as important as the other two, because I think that the hiring practices are what has led to a lot of the problems that we've had here in the sheriff's office. So I want to establish a legitimate written hiring process to hire new deputies. That includes testing, an interview process before a panel, a legitimate probing background investigation, drug testing, and physical fitness standards. Frankly, by implementing a system, politics won't matter anymore. People will get their jobs based on merit. Simply firing the old political hires and recruiting new political cronies will not fix the system. It will not change the culture. We need a process in place that rules. I want deputies who are not loyal to me. And I don't know if that makes sense to a lot of people in Beaver County anymore. I don't want the loyalty of my deputies. I want them to be loyal to doing what is right. Period. And by implementing these systems, the sheriff's office will no longer be used as a place to reward the friends and family of powerful politicians with county jobs. Additionally, I want to say this, and I've said this to a few people while I've been out there knocking on doors and meeting people at events, and this goes to the whole system of government in Beaver County. It's terrible. It's ruled by politics, and I want to acknowledge to people that it's not because the people in power are Democrats. It's really not. It's because they've been there too long, and they've run the system this way too long. I tell people if the Republicans had been in power for 40 years, we'd be having a lot of the same problems that we're having now. It's not the D or the R. It's that these people refuse to relinquish power and use their political power to maintain that. That needs to be changed. And I had somebody come up to me not too long ago, and it was an interesting conversation. And what he said to me was, how do I know that in 20 years, we're not going to be trying to drag your lazy butt out of the sheriff's office because you're going to be the one in power for so long? I love history. I love American history. And our nation's founders didn't intend for public service to be a lifetime career. People were supposed to come from their shops and their farms and come in and spend a few years in public service because they recognized the problem and they realized that they had the ability to make positive changes and serve the public. That's the model that I want to follow. And because of that, I want to stand here before you in this public square, in our county seat, and tell you that I will not serve beyond 2 years. 8 years in the sheriff's office is more than enough, and probably more than I'd want to serve. But that's my self-imposed term limit, is 8 years. I want to tell you, I want to kind of thank my fellow candidates here. Overcoming the political machine that wants to maintain this status quo is a daunting task. I want to thank my fellow candidates for putting their lives on hold. We've all done this. And I was told this early on that your life is going to change over the next year. You're going to be 100% committed to this, and we're about 3 weeks out now. We're coming close to the end. Close to the point where we task you, the citizen, the voter, with playing your role in this process. We need all of you to vote for good government this year. We need you to vote for these hard-working candidates on November 3rd. My name's Tony Guy. I'm your candidate for sheriff. Thanks for coming. Thanks for your attention. God bless you all.